But there is some particular points where I'll miss the point because my mind is just like, no, we are.
Wow, I can imagine. Okay. First, I wish you quick recovery on the stomach pain and the likes. I hope you rest well and take the necessary medication if you are a medication person and the likes. So yeah, I can imagine the marathon. That's why I called it a marathon, a short space whereby you have to have a lot of information in 1 week. A similar course like this is being taught for the honors students, and it's for the whole semester. So you imagine the topics in which you have to do for 4 months of the semester is being taught to you guys in 1 week. So yeah, I can imagine this the toll is getting on you and the likes. I remember in my first class, I told you that it's a 6 hours lecture that I'm trying to make to become 2 hours. And yeah, I can imagine that. And that's why today's class, as much as possible, I will ensure that the class is as short as possible so that you can have enough time to rest. Yeah. Any other contribution before we just doing some checking out? A 5 minutes checking out before we launch into what we need to do today. Any other contribution? How have you guys been feeling thus far? So far, since we started the lecture on Monday, you've had the class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today's Thursday. You're on another session. Anybody? Anybody want to tell us how they've been feeling?
Morning, colleagues. Morning, Patrick.
Hello, Nompilo. Good morning. You've muted yourself. Oh, you just wanted to greet us? I was hoping you are going to tell us how you are feeling. Nompilo? Is Nompilo still with us? Okay, while we try to get Nompilo to unmute a mic, do you have any other person that want to tell us how they've been feeling? Just in 1 minute before we start the class. Boniswa, do you want to tell us how you have been feeling so far? Boniswa?
Hi, Patrick. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
Also good. The class has been interesting for the past 3 days. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying the class and I can't complain. Even though we have too much information for 3 hours, like Sinamela said. So yeah, but otherwise I'm enjoying the class.
Okay. That's all right. Thank you very much. Nompilo, we are starting the class. We have started the class already. In fact, I'm recording. So yes, the class has started already. And we are not waiting for anyone actually. So this is part of the class. So the question I'm asking is actually part of what I intend to ask as checkup before we continue the class. In as much as we are supposed to be discussing project management and all the academic stuff, at the end of the day, we are still humans and we needed to reach out to each other, right? As part of what we're supposed to do as project management in the first place. So basically that's why I'm doing this. So we started the class already. right? So thank you very much for your contribution, Boniswa. And yeah, I understand the fact that I suppose maybe all of us should be having the idea relating to the stress the course has been from the beginning, and the amount of information that we need to give you guys within a short period of time. So we are constrained by the fact that you are practitioners, as it is, and we understand the fact that your offices will not give you the leverage of too many times to do this program. So that's why we need to find, we try to confine it to a week so that you can only take probably maybe a week leave or a week break from office and have the class as a marathon. And like I said, hopefully the class today will not be too long, and I will try as much as possible to finish the class in maybe an hour or at best in 1.5 hours. So I will try as much as possible to finish the class in 1.5 hours. And for me to finish this class in 1.5 hours, I will need your contribution. I will hope that you respond as quick as possible to the comments when I ask questions, so that we'll just move in along the slides immediately. So today we are going to be looking at applied technology and project documentation. That's what we want to look at today: applied technology and project documentation. So quickly, let's start with this particular quotation. History unknown is bound to repeat itself. Can we explain what this means in relation to project management? I suppose you must have heard this before. Or in relation to everything we have done thus far and your experience and the likes. You can relate to that. History unknown is bound to repeat itself. Can we explain what you think this means? Anyone? History unknown is bound to repeat itself. You can just unmute yourself and talk. History unknown is bound to repeat itself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. I think it means whatever is happening now, it's something that has happened before, even if we don't know about it.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. Whatever is happening now is something that happened before, even if we don't know about it. I like that space of even if we don't know about it. Thank you very much for that. Yes, any other contribution? History unknown is bound to repeat itself. Any example, any contribution to that? What does that mean? Anybody? Please, I need your contribution. We need to move fast and end the class early. I need your help to be able to finish the class early. And the only way we can do that is for you to contribute. History unknown is bound to repeat itself. Can somebody explain what that means? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, but I think if we don't learn from the previous mistakes, then it's the mistakes are bound to happen also in the future.
I like that. If you don't learn from previous mistakes, the mistakes are bound to happen in the future. That's cool. Yes. Any other interpretation to that? History unknown is bound to repeat itself. The point that has been raised thus far is correct. But we just want the more interpretation to what it is. History unknown is bound to repeat itself. So we have two contributions thus far. What has happened before is bound to happen again, even if we don't know about it. And the mistakes of yesterday is bound to repeat itself if we don't learn from it. Yes, any other contribution?
Sorry, is this course referring to sustainability?
The quotes? No, it's you can interpret it in any way, actually. Yes, it refers to sustainability, it refers to project management and the likes. So yeah, you can interpret it even within the confines of sustainability. So how do you see it within the confines of sustainability? What are you seeing?
I don't know if I don't think it aligns to this saying, because what I understand about sustainability is that if we do not protect, so to speak, the environment during community development, then it will mean that our future generation is doomed environmentally. They cannot replenish anything if we mess up during our community development. So.
Oh, I get that. Thank you very much for that contribution. Yeah. The concept of environment itself is interwoven, right? There is, the concept of sustainability is interwoven. The sustainability, as looking at it from the perception of the environment, right? What we do today having implication on future generation. Yes, I get that. That's a beautiful contribution. Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Morning. In fact, I wish to try from the aspect of the project management side.
Thank you. Okay.
To say, because the project has got some stages like planning, monitoring and evaluation. Then at the end of the day, we need to also keep the records for that particular project so that we can learn from that particular project, whether or to say to look at the strength of that particular project and also the weaknesses. In case where we didn't keep records as part of the closeout, we might not know the shortfalls for that particular project. Maybe let's say we are repeating that particular project, similar project in the near future. Whilst you don't know what happened to other people who were implementing such project previously. Maybe the history might repeat itself on that particular one because you don't have a record of the previous one. That's my take.
Wow, thank you very much. That is a beautiful take. You have practically, in fact, we can end the class now, right? We can end the class now and come back tomorrow because you've covered the entire the entire topic we're about to discuss today. You've talked about recording, you've talked about the mistakes of the past, you've talked about events that will happen even if we don't know about it. So basically that's the idea of this concept. And this quotation covers everything we want to discuss today. To say that if...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I wish you guys to excuse me. I've got another meeting, a crucial meeting in preparation for the Red Dance. Our DTG is calling us to that meeting. After the meeting, I'll join the class again.
That's all right. Okay. So going forward.
Sorry, Patrick. I'm sorry. I just got cut off. So I didn't actually get the answer for your question.
Okay. So I said this quotation, history unknown, is bound to repeat itself, is the central focus or is a summary of the entire topic we want to discuss today when we talk about project documentation. And the whole contribution that we have had, I'm sorry you missed them. I'm just going to summarize what our colleagues have said. And all the points they raise is in relation to their explanation of this quotation is in relation to what we want to discuss today. And summarily what colleagues said were that the mistakes of yesterday, if not taken note of, can repeat itself today, right? And we also raised the fact that events that have happened in the past are what is happening now, even if we don't know about it, right? So these are some of the comments in which has been raised by colleagues. And I am saying that explains in itself the quotation and what we want to look at today. Does that make sense? Are you up to it?
Yes, I've got, yes, I got it. Thank you.
So greatly. So basically, that's what we want to look at today. To say that if events are not recorded, if activities are not put on paper or in record or something that people can refer to know what has happened, it is possible for us to fall into the same pits or the same mistakes of yesterday because we did not record our activities for today. So basically that's the idea as relating to in project management, that there's a need for us to record these activities, right? So having that in mind, we will continue the session, right? But have this quotation in mind: history unknown is bound to repeat itself. Have it in mind as we continue our session today. So the first thing is to say, an efficient project requires more than good planning. It requires that relevant information be obtained, analyzed, reviewed in a timely manner. Why do you think this should be the case? That's another question I want to ask. Why do you think that we need information to be obtained, analyzed, and reviewed in a timely manner? Yes, go ahead. Anybody? Anybody want to give us your take on this? Probably maybe from your experience, right? Why do we need information to be analyzed in a timely manner?
I think the reason we need to have to review or to analyze or review timely manner, it's because we need to do a risk assessment.
I'm sorry about that.
All right, yeah, we need to do risk assessment. There is a major subjects or objects that we also need to look at before, or that is the reason why we have to review timely manner.
Thank you.
In my
Okay, thank you very much for that, Londiwin. Right, the need for risk assessment is the reason for us to have our projects and our information analyzed in a timely manner. Yes. Any other contribution before we continue? Maybe one more person and then we continue. These are very important points that you are raising. Anybody? We understand the fact that for us to have an efficient project, we have to have good planning. You cannot take away good planning from it. But why should information be obtained, analyzed, and reviewed in a timely manner? Anybody? Any other points? Any other comments? Like I said, it's up to us to finish this class early, but we need people to contribute. For us to finish the class early. Okay. Anybody? What do you think about the statements that we have here? Okay, I will just continue.
Sorry?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's because projects are time bound, and time is a crucial factor in project management.
I like that. I like that. Projects are time bound, and time is a crucial factor in project management. That's quite interesting and correct too, in the sense that there's always a life cycle to projects, and for that reason, there's a need for a timely analysis when it comes to the relevant information for that particular project. And linking that to what our other colleague raised, all these are also important in the analysis for your risk assessment in the course of your project. Thank you very much for that. So this is the reason, one of the reasons, or a central reason why there's a need for timely analysis of information. We said once information analyzed in a timely manner, we'll be able to provide early warning of pending problem and impact assessments on other activities, which can lead to alternate plan and management action. What we imply by that is what we have raised already. We detect issues in our projects early enough if relevant information as relating to that particular project is analyzed in a timely manner. If you wait too long before you gather information as relating to your project, it is possible that you will not address that problem until it escalates into a big problem that will affect the general efficiency of your project. So for that reason, there's always a need to analyze your information as quick as possible, right? And it goes back to the whole discourse around project activities, milestones, and deliverable in relation to project constraint, which is the looking at your time, your scope, and your budget. We said activities are the actions, the everyday actions that you put into your projects. The milestones are the timelines you have set out for your projects. The little timelines over time that you have set out for your projects. Deliverables are the products of your activities, right? You're able to assess your products in relation to your timeline and in relation to your general aim of the project. And then you can also link that to the time, the scope of the project, as well as the budget of the project, right? So all these are relevant points to consider when it comes to gathering information and analyzing information in a timely manner for your project. So when we talk about a project, this is a summary of all the segments of a project from your initiation phase to your closure phase, right? So the first aspect of a project, like we discussed, the initiation phase where you appoint managers and project team, you define the project goal, get customers buy-in, that's identifying your target audience, assessing the visibility of your project. That's where you do your SWOT analysis, your PEST analysis, your SMART analysis, right? This is where you do all this analysis. That at the initiation phase, you're asking yourself, is this project SMART in the sense of specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound? You do your SWOT analysis in the sense that you're looking at the strengths and the weakness, the opportunity and the threats of your project. Your PEST analysis in the sense that you're looking at the political, economic, and social, as well as technological features of the environment, as well as the project in itself, right? And then at that point, you're also doing your planning, doing your risk analysis, looking at the various proposed or supposed risks to your project. There again, you are doing another SWOT, looking at the schedule of the project, setting your budgets and establishing how communications, the hierarchy of communications will be carried out and the likes. And then at the execution and the control phase, this happens simultaneously. Initiation and planning happen sequentially, right? But the execution and the control phase happens simultaneously. While you're executing, you're also controlling, right? You are looking at your project activities, relating it to the project milestones, and linking it up to see if you are meeting the desired milestones in terms of the deliverables in which you have established. And at the end of the day, you come to the last phase, which is the project closure, whereby you are looking at the end of the project, what are the lessons that have been learned and the like. So basically, that's the entirety of what a project is all about, right? And these are some of the phases or some of the important phases in which you will look at in your project. So with that, we go to project documentation, right? With all these points we just raised down at the background, we look at project documentation. So the question we ask ourselves is, what then is project documentation? What is project documentation? Can I have maybe one or two persons just tell us what they think project documentation is while we continue? I'm just going to allow 2 minutes for this and then we move on. Yes, project documentation, based on all what we've just raised now, right? On the need for information to be analyzed in a timely manner in order to do your risk assessment and the likes. And the quotation we started with to say that history unknown is bound to repeat itself. What do you think project documentation is, as the word implies? Anybody? Any volunteer? Any volunteer? What is project documentation? Should I start calling names?
Memorandum of agreement.
Okay, memorandum of agreements, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, memorandum of agreements is project documentation. What else? That's one aspect.
Service level agreement.
Can you say that again?
Service level agreement.
Okay.
SLA.
Okay, that's cool. I
I
think
think contracts, also contracts documentation.
Contract documentation. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. All the points you raised now are parts of project documentation, right? They are parts of project documentation. And as we continue, you understand what I mean when I say they are parts of project documentation. These are some of the things in which it's important for you to have in the course of your project. But when we talk about project documentation in itself, we said it is the process of recording all the details of a project from the initiation phase to the termination stage in order to provide a holistic engagement for a successful project. That encompasses what a project documentation implies, right? The process of recording all details, everything about your project. The whole point you raise around memorandum of the memorandum of agreement and the likes all happen at the initiation phase. But it goes beyond just the big documenting the big stuff in sense of, okay, yes, we are discussing the contracts, the memorandum of agreements with the stakeholders and the project manager and the community and the likes. It goes beyond the big stuff. Even the very little stuffs that are done in the project itself. That is recording all details, not leaving anything out. Sorry about that. Not leaving anything out, right? That is what project documentation is. As the word implies, documenting. When we say documenting, it means we are putting into writing, right? or we are putting into writing the very details of a particular event. So in the sense of project, we are putting everything together. So project documentation itself is not an end in itself, but it's a means to an end, right? You document everything that happened in your project. It involves the compilation of documents and actions. In this sense, you are compiling every project activity, milestones, deliverables of your projects. That's what it implies, right? And in project documentation, it is used to catalog significant new learning that have evolved as a result of your project. What that implies is that in the course of carrying out your projects, there are things that will happen in your project that you will learn from. You want to record that. In the beginning of the class, I remember I said that a project is the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and the solutions in which you come up to get to where you want to be, right? Now, when we talk about cataloging significant new learning that have evolved as a result of a project, remember if we say that we are in Durban and we want to go to PMB, the journey or the project itself is to find ourselves in PMB. In the course of going to PMB, it is possible that on the road, you now realize that N2 is blocked. It is blocked around Pinetown, right? If you did not record that new learning, that N2 is blocked, the N2 highway has been blocked in Pinetown, and you did not record it down. Somebody looking at your work, it's possible to also go through N2 anyway, and we encounter the same problem you have encountered, right? And that way you will have wasted more time for people that are coming after you, right? So for that reason, if it is recorded that N2 is blocked, the road is no longer existent in at Pinetown. What will happen at the end of the day? Anybody that has seen your report, we take notes not to go via Pinetown, but to find alternative routes to get to PMB, right? So that's one thing. Your new learning was that on the course of going to PMB, you realize that that road has been blocked, right? And it also may be that maybe on the course of going to PMB, I do that a lot. I tend to find different routes, new routes that will make my journey easier, right? So it's possible that your new learning may be that you discover a better way of doing things, right? If you do not record that better way of doing things, then it may not be able to be repeated by others to create efficiency in the course of your project. So basically, that's another use of project documentation. And then we said it is also the implementation of a streamlined, efficient, and uniform process for producing key documents that are required to implement a new project successfully. You're able to record those key events. And then we said project documentation process outline a clear approach for organizing essential projects documents. So basically, these are some of the ideas when we talk about project documentation. But in essence, it implies the recording of all the events that happen in the course of your project, from the initiation to the planning, right? What are the challenges you faced and the likes? What are the new learnings that came out of it? Planning, execution, the control, as well as, as well as the closure of your project. So why do we document projects? We document projects for the many reasons in which we have been raising from the beginning: risk assessments, the need for timeliness in the course of our project, to ensure efficiency and the likes. And then this has other points in which we also look at. It creates more visibility. You can trace your entire workflow once your project is documented. You can trace the entire workflow. You can know what you did, where you did them, when and how, right? One can trace your entire workflow, even if you are not there, right? we can trace it. Even the concept of sustainability, right? Sustainability from the premise of project management in itself. Project documentation becomes essential because others after you can look at what you have written down and trace what you have done in your projects. If you are transferred from one department to another, because if you have an excellent documentation of the project in which you are carrying out, people that are coming after you in that department will be able to follow what you have done and can continue from what you have done. Instead of repeating the things in which you have done, they can continue that project going forward. And the same thing applies to a new department in which you are going to. If the projects in that department are documented, the activities, the milestones and deliverables are documented, you will not have to repeat the mistakes or repeat the actions that have been done by your predecessors, right? Because by the time you are doing that, what is happening is that you are wasting resources in the case of capital and human resources, and also wasting time, right? Which in most cases we don't have. And then project documentation also ensure that projects are fulfilled. They improve the performance and general productivity of a project. Like I was saying about the example of going to PMB and meeting a blockage in Pinetown. If that is documented, it will increase the efficiency of projects going forward, in the sense that we know not to go to Pinetown because we know that going through Pinetown is a waste of time. So we will have saved ourselves time, it will have increased our productivity and also increased our efficiency. Provide relevant and up-to-date information for quick decision-making, right? When you look at your project workflow, right, you can quickly make decisions based on the events that has transpired over time. It ensures the familiarization of projects by all stakeholders, and then also ensure that ensure that you can evaluate your project once it is finished. You know everything you have done. So you can quickly raise out the lessons learned. You can quickly raise out the mistakes that you have committed in the course of the project. You can raise out the strength of your project, what you have done better, and the likes. So this is a design of the entire phase, the phase in which you look at when you are documenting your project, from the beginning of your project initiation to the end of your project, which is handing over. That's from the planning to the testing to the end user documentation, as well as to the handing over, right? So these are the things in which you want to look at. You want to look at high level requirements and design document, the documents you need at your initiation stage, the required documents you need, in the sense of, we will be discussing that. When it comes to the testing plans and test documentation, we're talking about the action in itself, the project milestones and the project deliverables, and then you're also documenting for the end users, right? In the sense of, so we'll also discuss that and then writing your final reports at the end of the day. So we'll discuss all these things in relation to project documentation. And in all these things, again, we're also saying that at the planning stage, you're asking yourself, what should you do? What should you do in that project? What is the project all about? You should be able to describe what the project is all about. You should be able to ask yourself the solution you're trying to profile in that particular project and how you intend to profile that solution, right? So that's what you look at the initiation phase. At the execution phase, as it is, execution and control phase, you're asking yourself, what are the activities and how are the activities being carried out? And then on to the project closure and handing over, where you design the things to do. So we'll come to that. So a question you need to ask yourself before your project's documentation begins. You need to ask yourself, what is the goal of your project? That is very important. What is the central aim of your project? What do you intend to achieve, right? It must be clear. Remember when we discussed why projects fail? We said that one of the reasons why projects fail is that there is no clarity in terms of the goal of the project. So you must be clear on what you intend to achieve. Then you ask yourself, has the projects been completed in the past? You want to know if there's a project like this that has been done in your community or in other communities, right, in the past. If there are projects that have been done in the past in relation to the project you want to carry out, you want to reference those projects. You want to look at those projects and see what was done in that project, right? For you to learn from that particular project. And then you ask yourself if there's a standard project methodology that needs to be followed, especially when you are coming to a new department. You want to know if there's a culture in that particular department. Is there a culture that they follow in terms of culture being the way of life of the people? Is there a standard protocol that is being followed in that particular department or in that particular project? It helps you to know what to do and what not to do, right? So you ask yourself on that, and then you ask yourself, what are the technology you require in order to carry out that particular project? So what can and should be used for that project? And we'll be discussing some of the technologies in the next few slides. So what are the technologies that is required? You know, remember we talked about you doing a pest analysis, looking at the political, the economical, the social, and the technological futures of your environment and the project in which you want to carry out. So this is important. And then you want to know who are your stakeholders. Who and what are the key resources you require for the project? Who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to ensure that the project is successful? Who are the decision makers in the community as well as in your organization, right? And what are the resources that are available for you going forward? You want to know what's the budget for the project is in terms of your budget constraint. What's the budget for the project? What is the timeline for the project? What is the scope of the project in itself? And what are the communications that are needed? So these are some of the questions in which you want to ask yourself at the beginning of a project. Are we still together? Are we still together? Any question thus far or any contribution? Are we still together? Can I have a sign, please? I hope I'm not speaking to myself. Okay.
Yes, Patrick, we're still
Yes,
together.
we're still together.
Okay. I've not lost you guys. Thank you very much. Okay. So basically, these are the questions we need to ask ourselves in the course of a project. So please take note of them, right? We need to ask ourselves this question before we start our project documentation. So the essential documents we require in our project documentation. We have raised some of these things when I asked, when you talk about your charter of agreements and the likes. You need your project proposal, which is referred to as your business case, project business case. In your project proposal, you are providing justification for your projects. You are telling us why is your project important. Why should sponsors be concerned about your project? Why should the community be concerned about your project? Because the thing is, your project is like, you must have a mentality that people are, what's the word now? People don't know what they need, right? People don't know what they need. So you must be able to convince people or convince the community to see why what you are proposing is what the community need at that point. Or better still, even in a case whereby people know what they need, they have too many things that they need, right? For instance now, if I pick myself as an example, I want a car, I want a house, I'm hungry, I need food, I want to watch a movie, I want to sleep, right? These are different things in which I need, right? You must be able to convince me why you think that the most important thing I should concentrate my energy on now is, let's say in all these things, to sleep, to eat, I want to buy a car, and I want a house, right? You must be able to convince me that what I need now is not food or sleep, but a car. If your project is a car, buying of car. So you must be able to convince me that in the many things that the many plethorias of issues I have that I have in front of me, this is the most important thing I must concentrate on. The same thing applies to our communities. There are different issues we want to look at. Let's pick KZN, for instance. There's the issue of unemployment in KZN. There's the issue of poverty. There are different things in which you can look at in KZN. So why should we concentrate on, say, housing? Is housing our most important case in KZN? Or why should we concentrate on youth unemployment, right? We must be able to convince, provide a justification for that in our project. And then once that is sorted, we also, in our proposal, we also need to have a project charter, right? Or better say, once the project proposal is sorted, we have a project charter. A project charter authorizes the projects and gives the project manager the authority to plan, execute, and manage that particular project. So in your project charter, you talk about the scope of the project, right? You talk about the requirements, the proposed timeline, the budgets, the resources that are available, your deliverables. Discuss on your deliverables in terms of what's done and what should be done, and then the project success factor. What will be, what are the things that must happen for us to know that we have succeeded in this particular project? Remember, we said that it must be clear cut. There must be clear cuts. There must be clarity as relating to the project's goal and what we intend to achieve, right? So that is what we imply by the definition of what's done and the project success factor. And then in your documentation, you also want to do your RESI metrics. What we imply by RESI is that you need to determine who is responsible for what, who is accountable, who should be consulted, right? And who should be informed, right? So that's what your RESI metric is all about. Responsibility. I think I should highlight this so that we get the RESI in itself. So it's responsibility, accountability, consultation in terms of communications, and information. So that's what the RESI matrix is all about, right? So we must be able to determine who is responsible for what, who is accountable for what in the course of our project, who should we consult for different aspects of the project, and who should be informed in terms of communication. What is the hierarchy of communication in our project? We should be able to determine that in the course of our documentation. And then also we need to do a work breakdown structure. I suppose Mark also discussed the work breakdown structure with us. We need to be able to organize the actions, our project activity in terms of manageable sections, right? In the course of our project, manageable sections of our project, which is our work breakdown structure. We also need to determine our communication plan, right? The hierarchy of communication, both vertical and horizontal communication. Vertical and horizontal in the sense of, do we have a boss to report to, or who reports to us, right? And then do we have colleagues that we need to also communicate with? So that's both the vertical and horizontal communication. We need to also determine our risk factor and have a risk and issue log. What we imply by that is that, or what we refer to as RAID. RAID is risk, assumption, issues, and dependency. Every activity that happens in your project is significant. You need to record them down, right? And especially when you have some risks or issues that are coming up in the course of your project, you must be able to document that risk and also document how you resolved that risk or how you were not able to resolve it and why you were not able to resolve it. You should be able to document that down in the course of your project. And then a change request management. That happens when it comes to at the controlling phase, right? At controlling phase, there needs to be you need to track every addition, right? Or alternation, or alterations in your agreed upon deliverables during the course of your project. if there's a change, you know, in most cases, the proposal you have, it is possible that when you go to the field, you realize that you needed more, or there's a need to change some certain protocols in the course of your project. Then it is important you also document the changes that you have done to your project. And then there's always a need for a project schedule, right? To determine what has been done, when it was done, and the likes. That way you will be able to follow the timeline of your project and see what you have done going forward. So these are important things in which you look at in the course of your project. And this is a summary of it, of what I just explained now, and a different instance whereby you need what you need at different instances. At the initiation phase, you want to do a visibility report, you want to do your project charter, you want to do the entire project proposal. At the planning stage, you want to look at the requirement specification, you want to look at the design documents, the work plan and estimates. At the execution phase, you are tracing. You need to have a traceability matrix and an issue tracker. What that implies is that you need to have a document that looks at what you have done as against what you intend to do, as against the aim of the project. And then that's the traceability matrix. That's the traceability matrix. You can follow the entire activities of your project to see the different dynamics that have occurred in the course of your project. And then the issue tracker is the logbook, is the risk and issue logbook that we talk about, that you itemize every issue that came up in the course of the project and how you are solving that particular issue, right? You need to have that. And then we say your change management, your test documents. And at the closure phase, you have this entire document we talk about, the technical documents, functional documents, user manual, rollout plan, handover documents, contract closure, as well as lesson learned. These are important things in which should be available at the end of your project. So basically, this is just a snapshot of what you need from your project initiation to your project closure, right? So these are important, right? So I'm not going to bore you with this. Everything that I see is what I just explained now, your visibility reports and the likes. I just explained all this, so I'm just going to just pass over them, right? So basically that's that on project documentation. Any question before we go to project technology? Are we good to go? Can I get a sign that we are fine if there's any question you ask on project documentation? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So we'll just try and I will ensure that we end the class in the next 30 minutes or thereabouts. Project documentation should not take us too long. Sorry, project technologies should not take us too long. When we discuss project technologies in itself, right, what we imply by project technologies are I'm trying to find a word for it, equipment, as she says, that aids our projects, to ensure that our projects works very fine. And we want to talk about project management's computerized system and software application. What it implies is that with the use of computers, right, our project has become easier as compared to those projects that was carried out before the availability of technologies that are available for us currently within our world now. And when we talk about a computer, for instance, we always have the computer hardware systems as well as the software systems, right? We should be familiar with this, both the hardware and the software system of a computer. So what I will do is that before I go into this, I will play this video. Let me stop sharing, and then I'll share my entire screen. I want to share my entire screen. Because I want to navigate a lot of things in the course of this discourse, right? So we'll play around hardware and software. Okay, let's start with this.
You can use Monday.com to boost your.
Can you hear is the volume of the voice for this video? Can you hear that?
Your team's efficiency.
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to confirm that. Okay.
And I'm going to show you how in 40.
Hardware and software. Lofty goal. In this lesson, you will learn about computer hardware and software. Computers help us to do our work with ease, whether it is solving a difficult mathematical puzzle or it is writing a poem. Computers can be simple and they can be complex, but they are made of two components, hardware and software. Hardware. The physical parts of a computer are called hardware. You can see and touch all hardware parts. Hardware can be further classified as input device, processing device, and output device. Some hardware parts like keyboard, mouse, monitor, printer, speakers are visible outside the CPU box. Other hardware parts are present inside the CPU box like hard disk, CD drive, motherboard, SMPS, memory, etc. Hardware devices inside the CPU. CPU, hard disk, RAM, CD drive, SMPS, motherboard. Some more. SMPS, switched mode power supply, supplies power to all the devices present inside the computer. Hey Mighty, when I click on the Start button, all programs and many more names are displayed. Good question. These are software installed in your computer. Software. Software is a set of instructions that tells hardware what to do. It is shown on the desktop in the form of an icon. You can neither touch nor feel a software. Types of software. There are two types of software: application software, system software. Some more. You can create an icon on the desktop for any program you want. Application software. Application software programs are designed for specific purposes. Some commonly used application software are given below. Paint is a software used for drawing and coloring pictures. Adobe Photoshop is used for creating and editing pictures. MS Word is a word processor software used for writing and editing text. Windows Media Player is a software used for watching movies. System software. System software runs the application software. System software controls and manages your computer. When you start your computer, the first software to run is a system software called Operating System OS. Now, Windows 7 is the most popular operating system. Windows 8 is the latest operating system. Which one is correct?
Okay. So back to what we're doing. I suppose you get the concepts of that video, showing you the whole idea around computer hardware and computer software. In essence, we said hardware are those physical components we can actually touch, and then software are the internal functionings of your computer. And we need this in the process of our implementation, and also to ensure that our project is run smoothly, right? So just be conversant with this when it comes to our computerized system. And when we talk about those software, which is what we want to concentrate on in the course of the class, it's used for different things. The software, computer software, from your Microsoft Excel to your Microsoft Word documents, and to different software which you can use, like Monday.com, for instance, which I'm going to show you a video on Monday.com as one software which you can use in the course of your project. There are different things you can do with them. First, it allows you have a project data summary. You can summarize your project in terms of the expenditure, timing, and activities that are available. You can have your project management and business graphic capabilities. You can do that. You can have the recording of all the capabilities of your project. You can record the critical path analysis of your project, customize and standard reporting formats, multi-project taxing, especially when you're doing a lot of projects at the same time. In fact, even when you're doing simultaneous activities in the same project, right, you can actually track them, right? There are software for sub-networking to do impact analysis if you need them. There are software that make you dictate early warning systems in your project, graphic presentation, resource planning, cost analysis, multiple calendars in your project, and the like, resource leveling. These are some of the things in which you can do with different software, project management software that are available for you. The basic, at least to start with, is your Microsoft Excel, your Microsoft Word, and the like. These are basic, and then there are more advanced software that are available. Like I said, the Monday.com is one, which I will show before we end the class. So when it comes to your software, this is the breakdown of the documentation for your software. So in software documentation, you have your process, discussing the process of your project, and you also have the documentation for the products. In the process, you want to document the plans, the estimate, the schedule, report, and the likes of your projects. While in the product aspect of it, it's also divided into the system documentation and the user documentation. So for the user documentation, you are providing user manual as it is. And the manual is either for the end users or for the system administrators. So that's for the user documentation, right? You provide a manual for the end user, or you provide a manual for the system administrator. And then the systems documentation, you're looking at required documentation, design, and architects. You're looking at validation and validation of your project, testing, maintenance, and the likes. So that's what you are presenting at that point. So these are just softwares, the things in which you look at in the course of your project, right? So these are the terminology as it is. Your project documentation describes the project that needs to be documented and provide instruction on how to perform that particular products, right? So that's the product documentation. System documentation, as the word implied here, right, represent the documentation of all the system in itself and the different parts of it. The user manual and the process documents, the things in which needs to be done, the required documents that needs to be available, and the like. So I'm not going to bore you with the discourse on this terminology. You can read up on them. But like I said, this is a snapshot of how it's placed: system documentation, process, documents, user, end user, system administrator, and system documents, right? So let me go back here, and I'm just going to play on 2 more. Okay, so look at this Excel now.
Come to think of it, there actually isn't a single email that I've written over the last few months without the help of Grammarly. Grammarly is a digital.
For this screencast,
so I'm going to play this one on Excel, the simple Excel spreadsheet. I suppose we are familiar with this. We use it in our various offices as practitioners. And it's important for you as a project manager to at least have an idea of some of this software, especially the use of Excel. You will use this. Some of you are using it already, and some of you will need to take note of it and probably have a general knowledge of it. It's easy to use, actually, when you have an idea of the things in which you want to do. So this video, for instance, presents a simple spreadsheet budget. It shows you how to design an Excel budget spreadsheet. And I think probably I will show you one that we designed for a particular project. And in most instances, it's not in a project in itself, it may not be as simple as this video will show. You probably will have to have different sheets for different aspects of the project in itself, right? So we'll discuss that.
I'll demonstrate how to set up a simple budget in a computer spreadsheet. In this case, we'll be using Microsoft Excel 2010. Let's create an example of a yearly budget. So let's go ahead and click at the top left and start with gross income. And below that, let's list the value. I'll list the sample value of 35,000.
Sorry, can you see this video? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, and the video? Okay, great.
We're seeing the video.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and click back on the mark there and list this as an accounting number. And we'll do that throughout the spreadsheet. Okay, let's list some sample expenses. So we'll list them out first before we put the values. So rent, gas and car, food, utilities, cable, and internet. And we'll expand the column here just by dragging this over and put our values here. So 400, 120, 400 for food, utilities, 120, cable and internet. And you can continue the list down. Okay, let's select these and also select accounting for the value and expand the column so they can all fit. And what we'll do now is look at the monthly total. So we can write that out. And click on this box, click the equal sign, then start writing sum, S-U-M, put an open bracket, select the cells, close the bracket, hit enter. So that's the monthly total of the expenses. Now what we can do is if we want to look at our yearly total, we can click over here and set up an equation for finding what that is for the year. So we can hit the equal sign, click on the value of the monthly total, and hit Shift 8 for the multiplication symbol, and then multiply the monthly total by 12, and that will give us the yearly total. Now what we can do is we can see how much excess income we have, and let's expand this column as well. So what we can do, we can hit the equal sign, click click on gross income and subtract at the minus sign, subtract the yearly total, and that will give us our excess. Now let's say that we actually had more expenses. We can right click on the row that we need to insert a line, and we can hit insert, and let's do that a couple spaces here. Let's put giving, charitable giving is $350 per month, and you can see it automatically updates. And then giving, we can also put clothing. Let's say that was $150, hit enter. And what Excel will do is automatically include that into your monthly total. Also, it'll update your yearly total because this column is included within this, or this box is included within this. And then also take care of it here. Now, if it doesn't do that, what you'd have to do is click on the formula bar and adjust which ones that you want to be included. For instance, let's say we just had that. Then we'd have to have that. Or if it didn't include it automatically, you could just drag it over all of them, hit enter, and it'll update it. Thanks for watching.
Okay. So that's the Excel. That's the Excel. I'll quickly play this for the project management for monday.com for project management. We'll just play around this and then we'll talk about it in some few minutes and then we'll end the class.
Managing projects is no easy feat. Today, I'll show you how to set priorities, align on goals, manage resources, and more with our project management workflow. Let's get started. With this workflow, we'll use a high-level board to track the big picture, a low-level board for managing tasks, and a dashboard for monitoring our KPIs. Let's start with our high-level project board. Here, we're using our groups as stages and items as activities. In this case, activities are larger tasks that can be broken down into smaller tasks on our low-level board. More on this later. From there, we've added a people column for assigning activities, status columns for progress and priority, a timeline column to manage deadlines, and a numbers column for tracking expenses. To stay on top of due dates, try enabling deadline mode. By linking your timeline and status columns, you can quickly identify upcoming deadlines and overdue activities. With our structure in place, it's time to get visual with board views. Use the timeline view to map out each month and prevent overlap, the workload view to visualize your team's capacity, and chart views to convert your data to graphs. With these dynamic views, you can gather meaningful insights in a matter of seconds. Before moving on, let's put our board to work with automations. We'll start by adding this recipe. Once configured, Monday will change the status to stuck if an activity is not done by the due date. We are just scratching the surface, so be sure to check out the many recipes available in the Automation Center. With our project board set, let's take a look at our next board. While the project board provides a high-level overview, this task board allows us to zoom in and manage the details. In this case, groups help us organize what will be done each day, while items represent the tasks needed for each activity. Speaking of activities, here we can tie our boards together with the link to item column. Simply select your project management board, then designate the activity associated with each task. From there, let's pull in stage and status info with our handy mirror columns. Now, we'll see everything we need in one place and can keep things up to date without switching boards. Not bad, right? Last but certainly not least, we have our dashboard. By pulling data from both boards, we can see things like overall progress with the battery widget, total cost from a numbers widget, and where our time is allocated with a chart widget. Dashboards are highly customizable, allowing you to visualize the information most important to you. There you have it. Thanks to this simple yet powerful workflow, you'll be well equipped to manage all of your projects with Monday.com. Click here for more tips on project management and all things Monday.com.
Okay. So that's some of the software in which you can play around in the course of your as different softwares in which you can use, right? And I just dropped out some of the links that you can watch to see different project softwares and how it is being used. Okay. So this is the end of my slide. I'm going to open up the floor for questions if there are any. Any question? As I listen to what we have covered today, if there's anything that you need clarity on. Okay, so I assume that the silence implies that we are all fine, right? Okay. If there is no question, we are going to end the class here now, and then we'll meet also same time tomorrow for also a short session on project evaluation, and that will be the end of my own side of the lectures. All right. So have a good day, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
You're welcome. Thank you.